Alright, last video I showed you a multi-floor elevator using water and magma blocks and soul sand and some note blocks as the buttons, but I built a better version of it, so we're just going to use that now. The other one stuck out an extra block at the back, so we've cut what is now a lot of space off the back. It does stick out one more block to the left. I also moved the piston from the side to here. I think I did that in the last video as well. On the original design the piston was here. So that also cut off a block on that side, which is now over here. But the main thing is cutting off the back means that we have this entire sort of area of space removed, so it's a lot smaller. The reset is now a lot better as well. That's the main difference with the new design, is the reset is faster and it's less janky. It won't set off things twice, it'll only set off things once. How the elevator works, for people who didn't see the first video, every layer there are these magma blocks. So if I was going to the first floor, this soul sand at the bottom pushes me up the elevator by bubbles in water, but the magma blocks come out and stop me at the correct floor so I could come out. And then if I was coming from above, the magma block stops me here, and I walk out and drop down onto the floor I'm on. So the floors need to be 5 blocks between each floor to have both of those available as an option. And it just means that you use the same thing to go up to a floor or down to a floor. And then I can reset all of them that are sticking out by pressing this one on the right, and then all the magma blocks the entire way up and down will pull in, and the water will fill back in because of this water in the stairs at the side. So if we look at the side, there's stairs with water in them, and that'll fill back in the block, so we can go up the entire thing or to which floor we want. And again, if we want to go down, say to the 3rd floor, we press it, go down, we'd land on this magma block and then drop down onto the 3rd floor, and can reset everything, ready to go to the next floor. So the construction of this, if you can see at the back, for every floor you're going to need a repeater and a redstone dust. Just one. You're going to need some blocks, and you're going to need a crazy amount of observers. You're going to need the amount of floors plus 1 trapdoors, and the amount of floors plus 1 doors for each floor you go up. The observers I'm not counting, you just need loads, like just keep making observers, and if you run out, make some more. That's all I can say. And you'll also need the amount of note blocks as you have floors, a couple of stairs, and a magma block and sticky piston for every level. You'll also need a soul sand at the bottom. Right, so I'm going to do mine 5 blocks high. So the water elevator starts on the left hand side. As you can see here, you need 3 blocks plus the note blocks for the floors plus an extra block. So it's 4 plus the amount of floors you have, blocks wide. So for 5, I'd need 4, and then 6, 7, 8, 9, and that's how wide I need it to be. Okay, so the depth of this entire thing is 5 blocks. So if I started my water thing here, this would be the first block, and then I'd have to go 4 blocks back from that. So if you're digging a hole for this to go in, 5 blocks this way, and the amount of floors plus 4 this way, and then a big height. Okay, if I start my water pillar, we're going to need 2 sets of blocks at the front, and then our water is going to be here. So we need another 2 sets of blocks at the side like this, and then 1 at the back. Now for the 3rd block up, it's different. We do 2 stairs on each side, then we have to go a block back at the back, do a sticky piston facing towards us and a magma block. And then we also need blocks on the sides of the stairs, so I guess I could do those solid blocks just to show you that they're blocks, and they block off water. So I'll also do blocks on the other side, and that's because the stairs are holding water that will fill in the gap after the magma block gets pulled back away. Then we have another 2 layers of blocks, and then above that is the next floor, so I'll just do that with solid blocks to show that this is now a new floor. So you're going to have to repeat this design for every floor you do, except on the top floor you can just leave a gap for you to go in because you'll only be going down, and then the buttons will be here. So speaking of the buttons are also the 3rd block up, and they're note blocks. So in the way I've designed it, you actually go 1 block back and it's the 3rd block up again. So we'll do 5 because I said we're having 5 floors. So they're going to be like this, just 1 block back from this stuff. Finally, to make the water stay in, either need a door closed like that or trapdoors. To be honest, because when you're coming down from the floor above, you come out on this block here because the magma block pushes out. So if you come from above, you come here and go out. And then if you come from below, you end up here and go out. So this is 2 blocks high, so you could actually do doors on the entire thing. So I'll just do that, and that'll stop the water coming out. So that's the point of that. Can also mean you can open and close them if you really want to do that. You could also use trapdoors, just anything you can walk through that would stop the water coming out. Right, so I'm just going to repeat this for 5 different floors. So I'll just show this one because then you sort of get the idea of what you're building. And then this is the next floor. Okay, so I've done all the floors and I'm going to fill it with water now, just to make sure there aren't any gaps. We just go the entire way up and place water, which obviously is a lot easier in creative, but oh well. Now, one thing you need to do after you've done this, you also need to fill these stairs with water. So the stairs we placed on each level facing inwards, those have to have water in them, and that's so that the gap gets filled in after the magma block is there. There we go. And the way to test this is to put a soul sand at the bottom. Bam. And then you should go up the entire thing if you get in. And if you didn't, then you missed one of the bits of water and you need to see where you stop and place some water there. Now what would also be good to do is place and break a block where the magma block is going to be pushed out, so next to the stairs. And do that on every floor. And this is so the water gets destroyed and then it should get filled back in by the stairs on each side. So if we try and go up again now and don't, then that means you miss some water on one of the stairs. But I went all the way up, so I didn't. Okay, for the actual redstone for levels, we're going to place our note blocks on every floor. So third block up and one block back is where our buttons, quote unquote, are, which are note blocks. Now I did do this one block too short, whoops. So again, it sticks out one block more than the note blocks do. You could put the note blocks further across or somewhere else if you want. You just have to do more lines of observers or redstone to activate the elevator, which would be a pain, so I'm leaving them as is. So we've got 5 floors, so 5 note blocks, third block up on each floor, and 1 block back from the front. And then on the final level, just for completeness, we do it the same, so 2 blocks across from the water, and 3 blocks up. They'll load in a minute. There we go, there's our note blocks. So we're going to leave the very last floor for now. The way I do this is the first one is the bottom floor, and then it's second, third, fourth, and top floor. Obviously more if you have more floors. And the way these note blocks activate things is there's observers coming out the back like this. So we do that on every floor. And then trapdoors behind those that will set off other observers. Oh, whoops, I forgot I'm not doing the last floor yet. So don't put anything on the last floor yet. I mean, it is just an observer again, but it's a bit different, so I'll just leave it for now. Okay, so I'm going to go over to this other one I made first to show you how this works. So I might need some signs. So we're going to do a pattern for how to get the signal up and down. And it changes on every level, but it follows a repeating pattern. So from the first set of trapdoors on the first floor, the first observer is aiming downwards. So the way we do it is an observer under the trapdoor going down into a door, because that'll activate this observer, this block, and this trapdoor, and then we take the signal out of that, and it goes into the piston. So if I activated this one, as you can see, it pushes the magma block out because the signal went down. And obviously every floor above that, to get to the first floor, you'd have to go down, so all of these are going down. All the other floors, we're pressing a button to get to them from the first floor, so those need to send a signal up. But then once you get to the second floor, the floors above will need to send a signal down. And the result of this is essentially every floor we have one more observer aiming down and all the other ones aiming up, except ignoring the last one because the last one just resets everything because that's how you get to the top. So ignoring the very last one, which from the front would be the one on the far right, which is the top floor. You have first floor, 1 is going down, the rest going up. Then second floor, 2 are going down, and the rest are going up. Third floor, 3 are aiming down into it now, and the rest are going up. So when you get to your last floor, like on this design over here, all of these are going to be aiming down. So again, it's like every floor you go, you're going to have one more aiming down, and the other one is aiming up. So starting from the bottom floor to make all these buttons activate the right thing, the first floor is going to be activated by ones above, so they need to go down to it. So we go to the next floor up, we place an observer aiming downwards. Then we leave a 2 block gap and place an observer aiming down. And then we do a door. I'll do it aiming at the back if it's going down. So if we activate the first floor from here, it will trigger the observer, the door, observer, trapdoor, and then an observer coming out of that into the piston. So if we flip this trapdoor, the piston pushes out and we'll be taken to the first floor from whichever floor we're on. So next one across, we're going up, and that means instead of having an observer going into a block this way up, we flip that around. So we have observers aiming up from the trapdoors. So ignore the last one for now. And we do those going into our blocks like this. And then we do doors on top of those. So these are all aiming up because to get to the any floor above the first floor from the first floor, you have to go up. And these aim up and activate the next floor, which is the second floor. So now to activate the piston at the side, we go to our second trapdoor, because last time it was the first one, and we do an observer coming out, going sideways, then one more into a block. And then there's redstone on this block, and that's because it will get activated by something later, but for now, if this trapdoor gets activated, the second floor magma block gets pushed out, and that'll also work from below now. Like that. Okay, so now we're on the next set, which means we need one more aiming downwards, because from the third floor and above, you need to go down to get to the second floor. So we go to our trapdoors, we look up at the next set, we aim 2 observers downwards, then we leave a 2-block gap, and we're going to have an observer underneath that 2-block gap, so like that. And then we have our doors. If I can get there we go. Between the 2 observers to activate them, and then on above the trapdoors we have blocks, so I'm using red for the first floor and orange for the second floor, and then the other ones are going up, which means we go to trapdoors, we aim the observers upwards, place in our blocks, put some doors down, put observers above those doors aiming at the next trapdoors, and now we're on the third floor, so we go to our third trapdoor along, take an observer out of that to the back, take some to the side, going into a block, and there's a redstone on that will be activated by something later. Now we'll repeat it again. So last time we had 2 observers aiming down, so now we have 3. So we look up at the next set, 3 observers aiming down, 2-block gap, and then observers aiming down again, if I can get them. There we go. And then we do doors in between these to send the signal down between the observers. Then we do blocks on top of the trapdoors. And then this one here is going up, so we do an observer aiming up into a block with a door, then an observer aiming up into the trapdoor instead of down, so you can see these ones down, this one's up, and we miss out the last note block, because that's for later. And then for me this is the final set, so because I had 3 aiming down last time I've now got 4, so you just repeat this pattern. We leave a 2-block gap, and then have observers aiming downwards. Then we place doors in the gap between them, and we put blocks between these observers and the trapdoors. So if you were going higher than this, you'd need another one going up here, so it'll be up above the trapdoor into a block, but I don't, so that's the most I'm doing. And that's the pattern you should have. Every level, one more of them is aiming down and the other one's aiming up. So you just swap the observer and the block here, and you flip this observer around to be up instead of down, and then have the doors in between. So I've done the doors in different places as well, just to make it obvious which is up and down. So ignoring the top floor, if I press any of these now. So the first magma block is actually pushed out, so I'll pull that back in. So I can press the third floor, and I've gone up to the third floor. Okay, so that's all that bit done. Hope that was easy for you. And now we'll just do the reset. So for the reset, we do our observers again, coming out the back of the note block. So this is still the same for now. So every single note block, this is the one on the far right hand side to go to top floor. Except this one will reset all of the pistons. So we still do it going into a trapdoor for now. But then a difference is we also go to the side of this observer, that is the last one. So we place an observer facing sideways out of the first observer, like this. Then we place another one coming out the back of the one going to the side. And then we do another trapdoor. This could also be a note block, honestly, but like that. And now starting at the top and going all the way down, we actually do observers aiming downwards. So this is aiming down. And then we leave a 2-block gap and do another one aiming down with a door in between. And I'll do this door sideways just to show it's the reset now instead of one of the other ones. But it's really just the top floor. Then under the trapdoor, we do an observer aiming down, 2-block gap with an observer, door in between, and a block at the bottom. This should be green, not blue. Whoops. Then we do observer aiming down, 2-block gap, another observer aiming down into a block, and door in between. And we're just repeating this. Now on the second set of trapdoors we did, that are sort of right on the left hand side, we do things going up. So starting at the bottom trapdoor, we do a observer aiming into a block. Then we've got a door on top of that, with an observer on top into the next trapdoor, observer block, door on top, observer, into the next trapdoor, observer, block, door on top, and you do this the entire way up. Okay, so on the up one, everywhere there's a block under a door, we place a trapdoor. Could also be a note block, but I'm using trapdoors. So everywhere there's a block under a door, we're placing a trapdoor like this. And there's not one at the top. But then we also have to do something else, because this will only get activated at the moment by the ones going down. Sorry, the ones going up, even. It's hard to tell. There's only arrows on one side. So only the observers going up at the moment will activate this trapdoor because of this block. But on the... Oh, I appear to have missed a block here as well. Whoops. So yeah, because the down one, it's an observer here, not a block, it won't activate this trapdoor. So to do that, we just go to this trapdoor here. We take an observer out the side and then an observer aiming up, and then we go to the next floor. So 2 blocks under the door, trapdoor, take an observer going out to the back, one going up into this trapdoor that we've just placed. So we need to do that on every floor, like so. So it's the second to last set of things, and we take an observer going out the back of the trapdoor, and then one going up into a trapdoor that's next to this block under the door. And finally, to do the reset, we take observers going from this trapdoor that these observers aim up into, and next to each piston we have our block with our redstone, so we need to put one on the bottom one as well. Then we do a block above, a block to the side like this, and then we have a 2-tick repeater that we can activate through a block like that, and that will push the piston out and pull it back, and I'll just get a piston to show. If we have a 2-tick repeater coming from an observer, then the piston will either push the block out and pull it back, or if the block is already out, then it will pull it back in. So either way it pulls it back in, so that's why it resets all of the magma blocks all the way up. So then we go to the next floor, to our trapdoor at the side, we take observers going out, and there you go, we've got the redstone. So we do a block with a repeater on 2 ticks, aiming into a block to power the redstone, and then we just do the observers going into a block to power that, to reset that piston. So next floor, same thing. Oh, we don't need to do one at the top, because there isn't a piston there. Yep, so adios. Okay, so now we have our currently very dangerous elevator, but I guess we'll just test it works. So I'll actually just put out every single magma block, and then we'll just go to a random floor, like the 3rd floor, and press the reset, and see if all of them got pulled in. So go to the bottom, try and go up with it. Did they all get pulled in? Yes, okay, so I've done everything fine. And then say I want to go to the 2nd floor. Let's see if the magma block came out in the right place. Yes, it did. Drop down. Okay, and then we reset everything. And then full floor. Go up, get stopped by the magma block, get out, and we're on the 4th floor. Reset everything. Go back to the bottom. Easy peasy. Remember to crouch on the magma block so it doesn't damage you. And there you go. And we can reset everything and go up to the top. Alright, hope this wasn't too confusing. Just a multi-floor elevator, so a pretty complicated thing in concept, but this is a really simple way of doing one. You have to remember the floors have to be 5 blocks or higher high for the magma block thing to work, and then you just have to remember the pattern to do the observers at the back going up and down. It looks like a nightmare because it's all these doors. That's just to make it quicker. They could just be lines of observers going into the trapdoors as well, but the doors just speed it up slightly. Anyway, I've been Died. I'll see you in the next one, if this didn't make your head explode and you never want to see me again.